Yeah, extinction, asteroids, supervolcanoes, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it all before. But what if I told you there's a way more pathetic way for humanity to kick the bucket? Behold, the glorious future of human extinction without a single explosion. Welcome to the slow motion apocalypse, folks. It all starts innocently enough. The rich get richer, everyone else shrugs and checks their Instagram feed. Hey, as long as the memes are still funny and those Kardashian reality shows are pumping, who cares? Then come the strong leaders. You know, the ones promising a return to the good old days. Never mind that those days were mostly plague, burning witches, and having like 3 teeth. But hey, when the guy promising paradise has 1,000 robot bodyguards and tweets in all caps, sometimes logic takes a back seat. Big tech, always watching, taking notes. They realize it's way easier to control people who are addicted to outrage and manufactured drama than it is to actually invent decent self-driving cars. Turns out, controlling the narrative is way more effective than plain old censorship. Why ban information when you can drown it in a flood of celebrity scandals, war propaganda, soft porn, and exotic movements like the Black Lives Matter and LGBTQA+, whatever. Before you know it, boom, instead of kings and queens, we've got CEOs with private space fleets and armies of social media bots. New royalty, same old power games. Only now, the crown jewels are your personal data, and the royal decrees are those privacy agreements no one ever reads. And those super rich? They're not just buying mega yachts anymore. They're investing in private islands, designer bunkers, and top secret projects with names that sound ripped from bad sci-fi movies. You know, just in case this whole exploit the masses thing blows up in their faces. Remember Jobs? Quaint concept, wasn't it? Turns out robots are cheaper employees. And those overseas sweatshops suddenly look like luxury resorts when your competition is an algorithm that never sleeps and never complains about overtime. Don't worry, our leaders assure us this is economic restructuring. Fancy way of saying the rest of us are now competing for scraps, 25th century style. Makes you almost nostalgic for the good old days of soulless cubicles and wage slavery, doesn't it? Also, who needs food when you have a carefully curated news feed? Keeps you informed. By which I mean docile, distracted, and blissfully unaware of the empty pit where your stomach used to be. This gap between the rich and the poor got so much bigger that you'd need Waze and a few days to navigate this distance. See that line? Depending on your social credit score, that used to be for getting the latest brain implant upgrade or some other fancy shit. Now, after years gone by, this helps you get your food ratios, some placebo drugs, or if you misbehave, a one-way ticket to the re-education mines. At least they let us have our phones, keeps everyone desperately double-tapping and virtue signaling, hoping to climb that greasy influencer ladder. Who needs a freaking revolution when you can numb the pain with the dream of going viral? For the lucky few, the ones born into the lap of neo-luxury, it's all distractions. Endless entertainment, designer pets, virtual vacations in simulated paradises. Makes it real easy to ignore the world crumbling outside your chrome-plated fortress. Privilege is the best opiate, after all. Anyone asking pesky questions about unexplained weather patterns, disappearing resources, the creepy amount of data those free entertainment apps collect gets slapped with the conspiracy theorist label. Much easier to discredit inconvenient truths than actually address them, wouldn't you say? Critical thinking is the new endangered ability, folks. We traded it for the comforting glow of our screens, where the algorithm knows what makes us angry, what makes us laugh, what makes us hungry I meant, and what makes us buy stuff we definitely don't need. These people who stubbornly refuse to be a content creator, who still read those dusty things called books, and who think having a conversation with an actual human being beats arguing with bots on social media. They're the weirdos, the glitch in the system. the ones who haven't yet succumbed to the sweet temptation of total apathy. Because a spark of rebellion can ignite even in the darkest of times, especially if the rebels find the system's off switch and realize memes alone won't topple empires. Remember those promises of limitless energy and abundant resources, courtesy of all sponsored science? Turns out there's a catch. Limitless doesn't quite mesh with unrestrained consumption. Those glittering megacities with their personalized climate zones and self-driving everything, they're sucking the planet dry, my friend. Meanwhile, the rest of us, and by us, I mean anyone without a 9-figure bank account and a genetically engineered pet unicorn, are left to scavenge in the ever-expanding wastelands. Speaking of wastelands, welcome to the suburbs, or what's left of them. Years have passed and gone are the manicured lawns and endless chain restaurants. Now it's crumbling shelters, makeshift communities, and a whole lot of resentment simmering just below the surface. We're the outsiders now, cast-offs in a world that's physically and ideologically walled off. Our leaders love to remind us how much better off we are out here, breathing unfiltered air and surviving on scraps, apparently a testament to their incredible generosity. Inside those walls, it's a different kind of stagnation. Sure, the tech is flashier, the distractions more immersive, but there's an emptiness behind it all. A gnawing sense that all this comfort, all this luxury, might be built on a very fragile foundation. But hey, why worry about dwindling resources or the seething masses outside the gates when you can upgrade to the latest mood-regulating implant? Apathy is the hottest accessory this season, and the divide only deepens. Rumors swirl, whispered in hushed tones around campfires or in the flickering light of pirated data feeds, about the elite's increasingly outlandish plans. Off-world colonies, exclusive doomsday bunkers, even bizarre experiments on who gets to hit snooze on the apocalypse. They're not just hoarding the resources, they're looking for an escape hatch while the rest of us, well, we're apparently not part of their long-term survival plan. This stagnation, this slow bleed, it's setting the stage for something explosive. Hunger is a powerful motivator, and desperation makes you surprisingly resourceful. Those of us in the wasteland, the outsiders, we might not have brain implants or robot butlers, but we've got something they've long forgotten. The will to survive, the ability to laugh at the absurdity of it all, and maybe, just maybe, the blueprints for a future that doesn't completely suck. The walls were always meant to keep us out, but in the end, they became a gilded cage. Turns out, unchecked greed and endless distraction aren't the best foundations for a lasting civilization. The cracks started small, a blackout in one sector, a protest turned violent in another, a suspiciously convenient viral outbreak confined to the Neo-Lords' pleasure domes. Then came the shortages, not just the basics, but the little luxuries that kept the masses docile. When the designer coffee pods ran dry, well, that's when things got truly messy. Inside, it was chaos cloaked in absurdity. These neo-lords waged their petty wars on social media, their loyal followers armed with emojis and outrage algorithms. Robot armies clashed in the streets, not for any grand ideal, but to control dwindling stockpiles of exclusive robot oil. Their grand escape plans faltered with the same incompetence that built this mess, rockets mysteriously self-destructing. Off-world colonies overrun by rogue gardening AIs. Simpler put, turns out that our leaders started the war before we attacked them. Meanwhile, in the wasteland, well, we were the cockroaches, hardy and adaptable, and damned if we weren't going to inherit this crumbling earth. 4 years without gas, 2 years without food or medicine weren't enough to pull us out of our caves. But 2 weeks with no electricity, with no Wi-Fi, and no possibility to charge our phones, well, this was the real wake-up call for the masses. Turns out the survival instinct isn't just about knowing how to build a fire, it's about a primal need that takes over, that transforms you into something a bit feral, a bit alien, even to yourself. Forget civilization's niceties. After a while, all that matters is the next meal, the next warm blanket, the next working antibiotic, and obviously, the scroll. So when we finally gathered the strength, the desperation, and some seriously improvised weaponry, I still don't know how we made that catapult work, we stormed those gleaming citadels. We expected resistance, a final stand, anything. Instead, we stumbled into a different kind of war zone. The Neo-Lords, once untouchable, were at each other's throats, squabbling over dwindling supplies, their robot armies malfunctioning or outright switching sides. Chaos reigned supreme. And us, the ravenous, the outsiders, well, let's just say the old distinctions of right and wrong, red team or blue team, didn't hold much meaning anymore. So we joined the fray, a scrappy, desperate horde adding to the glorious absurdity. Was it a grand revolution? A valiant stand? Honestly, it was more of a bar brawl fueled by starvation and a dash of nihilistic ideas. The end, when it came, wasn't a bang, but a whimper. No asteroid strike, no nuclear winter. It was more of a pathetic fizzle. Those mighty Neo-Lords? Some holed up in their bunkers, succumbing to madness or ironically malfunctioning tech. Others vanished into the anarchy, their designer clothing offering little defense against a hungry mob. The last transmission we intercepted from within the walls was a celebrity chef trying to live stream a recipe for a synthetic protein paste. It cut out mid-sentence. And so, humanity stumbled backwards. The grand cities became ruins. The gleaming tech relics scavenged for scrap. We, the outsiders, the forgotten, we became the inheritors of a broken world. Yet, in that shattered landscape, something flickered. Not hope, exactly, but a kind of stubborn defiance. We'd learned our lesson the hard way. Progress without purpose, technology without humanity, it's a recipe for self-destruction. No one hears from Earth anymore. We're too busy rebuilding, relearning, to bother with reaching for the stars. This time, it'll be different. Maybe smaller, maybe messier, but hopefully a hell of a lot wiser. And the next time some smooth-talking wannabe ruler starts promising paradise powered by unfettered technology and our unquestioning obedience, let's just say, we'll be ready.